Okay, we're doing Arya, Daenerys, and Bran. Arya is sad. Like, she's very sad. And this was sad. This whole chapter, I was like, you know, you have that feeling like, oh God, like it's just horrible, and you like, it doesn't bring you to tears or anything. You don't even get misty, but it's like, if they do one really, really sad thing, it can bring it up a little bit. That's how this chapter was. Like, Arya is just sad. In the show, when they get to King's Landing, they show her, you know, running around. You get the feeling that she's just angry, which she has every right to be, but she's very, like, she's mourning her friend. She's sad. Start off with her at the dinner table in a small hall with all of their house guards and the Septa and Jane Poole and Sansa. Like, everyone's sitting there eating. Ned comes in late because he's always working late with the council. And he says, you know, at least someone in this city has enough sense, you know, meaning like they didn't wait for him to start. They went ahead and started. They start talking for a minute about the tourney that they're going to have in his honor, and how much he says he doesn't want it to happen. He doesn't want the girls to go, but Sansa begs him to let them go, and Septa says that it would look bad if they were not there, because all the ladies of the court are going to be there. The princess is going to be there. It will look really bad if the Hand's own daughters are not there, so he reluctantly allows them to go. Arya says she doesn't care about the tourney. Sansa says it's going to be a splendid event and you won't be wanted there. And Ned's like, slow the fuck down, because Sansa's just being an asshole to Arya on purpose. As they're sisters and they need to act like sisters. Sansa kind of bites her lip. Arya looks down and she's upset and has tears in her eyes, and Ned's all mad, so he excuses himself because he has to go. He doesn't have an appetite. The men begin talking about the tournament. No one is talking to Arya at all, and she starts to feel homesick for Winterfell, and she misses her brothers. You know, Robb, they're all nice to her, especially Jon. She misses the baby Rickon, and she's just alone here, especially after what she went through on the Trident. Like, she's just by herself. She has this moment where she's thinking about running around Winterfell, stealing pies for the people that work for her dad, and going to their houses and playing with the kids. And one of the guys gave her the nickname Arya Underfoot because she was always underfoot. And she just misses being home, and no one here likes her. She starts thinking about her friend Micah, how Jane Poole told him they had hacked him into so many pieces. When they returned him to his father, he thought they had given him a pig, which is disgusting. She looks at her plate, and it's a plate full of ribs, and she can't eat, so she gets up to leave, and Septa yells at her, and she yells back, clean it yourself, and runs off. A couple people, and like Septa comes and knocks on her door, and she doesn't answer it. Finally, her father comes. When she opened the door, she could tell he looked sad, which made her feel even more sad. He looks down and realizes that she's holding a needle, and he takes it from her. He's like, where did you get this? They have this back and forth about Septa Mordane's supposing to make her a lady. She says she doesn't want to be a lady, and she hates the Septa. And Ned gets mad. He's like, enough. She has enough to deal with without you being all crazy. Ned said she has a wildness in her, and she looks just like her Aunt Lyanna. And if she and Jon look alike, hello, like, clues all over this book. He says that she looks like Lyanna, and Arya's surprised because everyone says Lyanna was beautiful, and he's like, yeah, she was, and she was wild, and she died before her time. And he's worried that's going to happen to Arya if she keeps going on like this. And she has this sword, and he's like, what do you expect to do with this? Skewer your sister or Septa Mordane? What do you even know about swords? And she's like, stick them with a pointy end, which is what Jon told her. And he laughs. He's like, yeah, okay, well, that's true. And she says that she was trying to learn, and she had asked Micah to play with her, to practice with her. And it was all her fault because she had asked him to practice with her. And Ned goes over to her and gives her a hug and tells her it's not your fault. Be in mourning if you have to, but don't blame yourself because it's not your fault. Ned has this whole long thing, soliloquy kind of telling her, listen, winter is here. You've been growing up in summer and Winterfell for so long, you don't know what it's like to be in hard times. And we are now in hard times. We are in King's Landing. There are people who would do us harm, and we need to be unified as a family if we're going to survive all this. Which is very, very, very true. And he tells her it's time to start growing up, and she knows this. She says she's going to try. A few days later, Jane Poole comes and tells Arya that she's been summoned to the small hall. She goes there and she finds Serial Pharrell, who is giving her dance lessons. It's pretty much the way it was in the at the end of episode 3, I think, or 2. Was it 2 or 3? Where they have their lesson. He throws her the sword and she drops it. He says, tomorrow you'll pick it up. She's left-handed. He says that's good because it'll throw off your opponents because everything's going to be backwards. And he says the target is small, also good. It's hard to hit. And they have the line, you are not holding a battle axe, you're holding, and she says, a needle. Yay. So yay, it ends on a happy note. I thought it was interesting that she and John are both having a hard time. And then, you know, he gets news that Bran is okay, and he automatically feels better, and he starts treating people better because he feels like they're both having a hard time at first. And then they just need something to, like, kind of snap them out of it. They're both of their chapters were really, really similar. Like, it really felt like I was just reading, like, an extension of John's chapter. I wonder if he did that on purpose. He probably did because they're so much alike. So Dany is riding with the Khalasar. They're on their way to Dothraki City. And Jorah talking about grass, whatever. She has this paragraph where she's talking about Viserys and how he's having trouble riding the saddle, and he pretty much just looks like an idiot. Illyrio had offered to have him stay at his house while, you know, Dany went off, whatever, but he had to be there because he wanted his, like, his army. Did he really think it was just going to happen right then and there? Like, what did he really think was going to happen? It kind of makes me wonder if Illyrio really negotiated that for him. You know? Because you know Illyrio got something out of this. So it makes me wonder if, like, he sold Dany to the Call for whatever it is that he get. I forgot. And told Call to just go along with this, with her brother saying that he was going to give him an army. I kind of... Is that just me? Like, I wonder if he really negotiated that, or he was just like, just put up with him for a while and then just, like, kill him. Or just send him away. Like, no, because who would take him seriously? No one really takes him seriously. And you get the feeling from the earlier chapters that Illyrio kind of just... that he's smart and that he really wouldn't go along with that. Like, I kind of feel like Illyrio saw the opportunity to make some money off of selling Dany to Call and, like, just made her brother feel like he was important. You know what I mean? Viserys is all mad that he hasn't gotten his army yet, and he's like, if he tries to cheat me, then he'll wake the dragon. Dude, come on. You were scared of the guy at the gate. You grabbed your sword. You really think this person is afraid of you? Anyway. In the beginning of the trip, everything's really hard for Dany. Riding on a horse all day is exhausting and very hard. Kudos to her for even doing that, because no. Then at night, of course, Khal Drogo comes in and he rides her too. Like, at that. And that's realistic. This part is realistic. I don't see how Grimm was... I know he did it so it was less rapey, because the girl was 13 years old. But, like, him teasing her until she said yes, and then he's like, okay, that's all you get, and then he just rides her every night and doesn't care. Like, she orders the group to stop while she rides off into the grass. She just needs, like, a moment alone because she's always with people, and she's thinking about how hard it was at first and how it slowly got better. It was really hard, and she had a dream about a dragon coming and, like, blowing his fire breath on her, and it, like, burned away all of her sores and her soreness and renewed her. And from that night on, every day she got better. And she notices that the dragon in her dream was black and red, and one of her eggs is black and red. So she's like, she likes that one a little bit more, you can tell. So she's off by herself, and Viserys comes in and is like, you dare tell me, you command me. This is a scene from the show. And he goes and he, like, kind of jumps at her, and she pushes him away, and he's all shocked. And before he can go and, like, try to hit her or anything, one of the guys comes up from behind him and, like, cracks the whip and, like, grabs him from behind. It's so great. It's pretty much just like it is in the show, except in this version, she sees him on the ground and realizes how fucking pathetic he looks. And she thinks to herself, God, was he always this pathetic? And realizes, yeah, what the fuck was wrong with you? Yeah, he was always this pathetic. And she realizes she doesn't feel that fear of him anymore that she had before. And she's the one that tells them to take his horse away. And he's like, what? No. And she does that because to the BATTLESTAR, a man without his horse is like the lowest thing for a man to be without his horse. So she tells him to walk. I like that they gave her that role. And it's like, I don't know why they took that away from her in the show. Like, that makes you see how much she's beginning to grow. That she would come in and take his horse away. And then she kind of has another moment of like, oh shit, what did I just do? And she asks Jorah, you know, will he be able to find his way back? And he's like, do you see this big ass train of people we have here? If he's stupid, he can't keep up with us. And even so, there's scouts. They aren't going to let him run off by himself. Don't worry, he's fine. And she says to Jorah, I hit him. I woke the dragon, didn't I? She has this moment of doubt. And he says, you can't wake something that's dead. He wasn't a dragon. The last dragon died a long time ago. What is he going to do? And she says, you know, you swore your sword to him. What does that make you? And he says, if the man you're swearing your sword to is a snake, then what do you think the people who swears his sword to him are going to be? Come on. And he asks her, would you really want to see Viserys on the throne? And she says, you know, he would make a horrible king. And it's the first time she allows herself to say that out loud or even think it really. But she knows it was always true. And still, she's like, the common people pray for him. And Jorah says, no, the common people pray for rain and healthy children and food and shit. They aren't praying for him. No one even knows about him. They have this really nice moment where she asks what he prays for, and he says he prays for home. And she says that she prays for it too. And he tells her to look around, and in her mind she sees King's Landing, and every door is painted red. And there's a nice moment of her envisioning that for the first time. Anyway, they have that whole thing. She goes to her tent and orders a bath, and they start talking about dragons. She asks her handmaids, have they ever seen a dragon? And they tell her no, dragons died a long time ago. And the one handmaid, Dora, says that dragons come from the moon. That one broke, and they drank fire from the sun, and that's why they breathe fire. And the Dothraki girls say no, that the moon is the wife of the sun, and that whole thing. And she invites Doria, is that her name? Doria. She asks her to stay for dinner, and they have a talk. And you know this is the part where she tells her about lovemaking, but they cut it out in the book and they actually put it in the show, which was just for shock value, I guess. I don't know, but it's not really in the book, but you know that's what happened. So that night when the call comes to the tent, she's awake and waiting for him, and he's like, what, girl? And she's like, yeah, motherfucker, it's about to go down. So she like drops her robe and leads him outside the tent, because everything of importance must be done under the night sky or under the regular sky, whatever. She proceeds to make the love to him, and he goes to take her from behind. She's like, no, motherfucker, I'm sick of that shit. I'm looking at you. That's verbatim. The whole time she could feel the eyes of everyone watching them and hear whispers, whatever, but she didn't care. She was focused. She was focused. And then a couple weeks later, someone tells her that she's pregnant. She's like, I know. That's why I did it outside, bitch. And that was on her 14th birthday. 14. Oh my god. Okay, Bran. So Bran's pissed because he can't walk. He says the crows were lying. They said he would fly, and he can't even run. He's in a very, very bad mood. Old Nan is there, and she's trying to tell him stories, and he's being all rude to her, and says she's old. She's the oldest person there. And then we learned in this chapter that Hodor is a descendant of her. We didn't find that out until, what, season 6, episode 5? So I mean, it's nice that we have that information early on, because when I saw that episode, I was surprised. I was like, wait a minute, that's his grandma or whatever? But she's the oldest person at Winterfell. And it's funny because Catelyn said that in this chapter, Catelyn says that all the Brandons in her mind all lumped together as one person pretty much. And she, because she says to Brandon, would you like me to tell you a story about Brandon the Builder that's always your favorite? And he's like, no, it's not. That happens with people. All the girls end up being one person, and all the boys end up being one person. Brandon is commenting on how he woke up and the world has changed. I didn't even think about how horrible that would be. It's like you have a fall that you don't remember, and you wake up from this dream and everything's different. His mom and half the house is gone, and his brother's there, but he's different. He barely gets to see Rob because he's off being the lord of the house now. So Bran's in a bad mood. Nan tries to tell him a story to cheer him up, and she starts talking about the others, and she starts talking in a really low voice, so he has to like lean in and listen to her, and then bam, the door opens. It's funny. And it's Hodor coming to get him to take him down to the Great Hall because Tyrion Lannister has arrived. Hodor takes Bran down to the Great Hall. Robb is sitting there with his sword unsheathed, which is not nice. That's not inviting, to say the least. You know, everyone would know what that means. Tyrion's glad to see that it's true, that Bran is alive, and he gives him the blueprint for a saddle that he can ride, so he can ride a horse again. The Maester's like, I should have thought of this, and Tyrion's like, well, it's, you know, it's much like the one I already have, so of course I thought of it, and blah blah blah. Which is nice, because Jon didn't know what he could send to make Bran feel better, and Tyrion's like, I got you, bro. We friends? I got you. Rickon comes busting into the room all happy and playing with 3 direwolves behind him, and they like go to attack Tyrion. Why don't the direwolves like Tyrion? He's the nicest person. And they all have to call the wolves off of him, and Robb's like, what the heck just happened? And no one really knows. It's weird. Maester asks if he's okay, and Tyrion's like, well, my sleeve is torn and my pants are a little bit wetter inexplicably, but I'm fine. Maester Luwin takes a minute to talk to Robb, and Robb's like, you know, maybe we mistook you. We would offer you Winterfell's full hospitalities. And Tyrion says, you know, you don't have to be fake with me. I know you don't trust me. He says, you know, I'll go to an inn. We'll all sleep a little bit better. Don't worry about it. And they invite the Night's Watch brothers who accompanied him to stay there. Bran goes back to his room, and he's happy because he's going to be able to ride a horse, and he dreams about riding. Yay. Hodor wakes him up and helps him change into clothes to go down to dinner where everyone's eating. Again. Robb asks about Benjen. The brothers of the Night's Watch have to tell him, listen, he was gone. He hasn't come back yet. It doesn't look good. He's probably dead. Robb gets outraged and like yells. One of the younger Night's brothers tells him, you know, Benjen was the best at hunting and ranging. Like, he's probably alive. And then Bran yells out, maybe the children of the forest will help him. And they kind of snicker at that. Theon Greyjoy, he snickers at it because he snickers at everything. And the men of the Night's Watch, so is it Yoren? Someone says, well, you know, down here in the south that may not be possible, but who knows what happens beyond the wall, so they could probably help him. After dinner's over, Robb carries Bran back up to his room himself. He helps him into bed, and they sit there in the dark and they talk, and Robb says, wouldn't it be great if when Mother comes back, you know, you were on a horse and you could greet her. She'd be so happy. And then Bran hears him crying because it's so stressful. This poor kid has so much on his shoulder. He's only 14 years old. Maybe 15 now. And he says maybe after that they can ride north to the wall and surprise Jon and go have an adventure. And Bran's all happy. And Bran reaches out to hold Robb's hand in their hands, like their fingers entwined. So sad. Okay, after this, we will have Ned, Jon, and Ned again. He has, his chapters come up a lot. So what do you guys think? What do you think about Illyrio? Do you really think that he actually made a deal with him, or you think it was kind of like a backhanded, like, listen, he's going to think you're going to give him an army, just go with it for a while, and then kill him? Like, what, do you really think Illyrio made that deal? I don't think so. I really don't. Why would anyone give this kid, this sniveling little entitled bitch-ass kid, an army? I mean, really. That's it. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good day.